Motion for 8,500, do I have a second? Second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. Was there any other vote from non-public? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. So, moving forward, a motion to approve the minutes. Excuse me. Hi, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Nice to hear. Do you have any public comment you'd like to make tonight? You're in.
No. No.
How you feeling?
I will tell you that while you were having your non-public meeting, we had a meeting down there which was very enjoyable.
All right. Gail treating you all right?
I beg your pardon?
Is Gail treating you all right?
Can I take the fifth one?
Okay. Yes. All right, so, moving on, can we have a motion to approve the minutes? We've got 5/19/14.
So
Second.
Okay, a second, we got a motion, a second. Does anybody have any issues with the minutes? I could not find any. I can't believe how good Carol
So
does.
perfect. She's just
Awesome
feeling
lady.
good.
Okay, all those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
Aye.
One abstention, Peter Perrin. Okay, can I have a motion on the minutes of 5/29/14?
So moved.
The public, so
Second.
moved. So we have, I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on, anything to bring up on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstain? One abstain, Peter Perrin. And did we have non-public that time? We have a
So we
non-public.
just approved it, didn't we?
No, we approved the 5/29 public.
I believe we did.
No, I don't think there was any non-public.
Mr. Chairman, I can't second that, I was not here.
Oh, all right.
Which
Well, you can second it. There's no reason you can't second it.
All right.
You're gonna confuse us.
If you can review the minutes.
No
This was the
non-public.
food service
Yeah.
meeting, correct?
Yeah, yeah, so we're all set. Okay, business administrators report.
Hi,
Hi.
that's the best I can do, Gail. You're welcome. I'd like to start with preschool if nobody has any objections. Through the report, pages 1 through 6, you'll see the encumbrances there. There is actually nothing anticipated. And the encumbrances now, because we have pretty much paid out our second to last payroll for the year, so has changed significantly, just the encumbrance part. So I'm still showing a $22,000 surplus for the preschool this year. Sure.
So if you remember our last meeting, we talked about some year-end expenses that,
Come on, let's listen to Scott.
if you remember last time, we talked about some hard expenses and then reversing something out of a grant. And we haven't encumbered those yet because we were waiting until the last minute, just so Marjorie didn't anticipate them. I'll let you know that when I went to reverse the $15,000 and change out of the grant, we ran into a logistical error, and I won't be able to do that because we've already been paid the money from the state, so that money will stay in fund balance. I know there was a motion otherwise, unfortunately, that motion can't be followed through on because the money's already been received, and you can't really give it back. So, that's what we ran into there. So you'll, yeah. If the IDA balance was 0, we could have entered a negative, but since there was money in there, it was just too cumbersome to make that calculation with the online grant system. So that money will sit there. So it looks like we'll have about a $15,000 fund balance at the end of this fiscal year. Go ahead.
So, I'm sorry, does that mean that the items that we approve in new purchase in preschool will just come out of the 22,000?
Yeah.
And that's how much approximately? Just a rough guess.
I think it was about $7,000.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, let me check the minutes. Here, you go into something else.
So that hasn't changed from the minutes before?
No.
You were gonna,
I thought it was right in the neighborhood of 7,000. Yeah.
but I thought you were gonna go look at some items and see if it changed, you know, you had $4,000 wagons, I tried.
The wagon.
All right.
$130 wagons.
How does the fund balance work on that account?
Well-
Especially since we put a grant money into the fund balance, so it's probably limited to the way we can treat that balance.
No, we didn't put the grant money into the fund balance. I have to keep it separate now, so we couldn't do that. We just, so what happens at the end of the year is your fund balance goes into a preschool fund balance that I think that we need to have a discussion about at the July meeting. Dr. Godomsky agreed. I wanna wait to see exactly where it's at, but most likely I'm going to be coming back to you, and you're going to have a decision to make on what to do with that balance.
Have a party.
So, we're just waiting for the year to end, because it's a lot more than, it's years fund balance is accumulated.
We'll come with a recommendation on how we would disperse that if it goes back to the districts too.
So that'll be in July, so we'll put that on.
Yep.
Okay, good.
This is treated different than our local budget, because
It's
our
like
local budgets are appropriated and yours is
Correct.
paid. That's treated differently.
It is.
It runs the similar rule to the SAU.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a rolling, running fund balance in the SAU that they've been chipping away at for the last couple of years on numbers of issues. Does anybody have any other, is that it on preschool?
That's all I have. on
Anybody have
preschool.
any questions on the preschool? Okay, so it looks like we might end up around 15,000 after the $4,000 wagons are taken out. Sorry.
So moving on to the SAU financials, we still have 3,000 encumbered for the indirect cost revenue, and that is because with the accounting manager that we had and the grant person that we have, getting them up to speed and drawing down the money. So once we draw down the money, then we write off whatever the expense was, we take the indirect cost rate, and then it gets charged into this account. So for numerous months that were there, because we didn't have a grant person, so there were multiple months where we had to wait because you had to request $0 for certain months because there was nothing recorded for those periods. So now that we're up to date, you'll be seeing that money go down. And then other than that, there's really not too much left that we have anticipated. On page 3, you'll see the school board secretary. And we anticipated another 1,000, go ahead, Dave,
Page 2,
page 2.
halfway down says superintendent unemployment. Is that for everybody, all 8 people, or they just are charged from the state for our superintendent?
That's for the whole building.
Okay. And further down, it says retirement for the business manager, $52,000.
That's because that New Hampshire retirement money that we had to pay back with the issue that we were made aware of, so that's where that came out of. We came to the board and asked for $45,000 or $48,000. And that's what it, so the balance right there, the $44,000.
But that wasn't just for the business manager.
No, that, we
That's
needed
just-
a, we needed
you
a
needed a
line
line
to
to put
charge
it
it
down.
Oh, that's where it
against.
was
To
identified.
come, so I chose, put it in my line, and that way I'll know what it is, so I can answer to it. So you guys don't think I have $50,000 going into my retirement account. We anticipated $1,000 for legal expenses, because we do have a lot going on at the SAU right now.
What,
So-
you mentioned when Dave started talking about the school board secretary, what were you telling us there?
School board secretary, that's how we anticipated how much for the remainder of the year, so that's that 370.96
Okay.
is.
Sorry.
$1,000 for legal expenses. Nothing new to note on page 4 or page 5. And page 6 and page 7. Our bottom line still shows that we're expecting to be about $8,000 in the hole, but mind you, there were a lot of unanticipated expenses that we paid out, and we were originally anticipating to be about 30 to 40,000, so now I can safely say I think it's gonna be less than 10 with the, how much did we spend out of surplus? Almost $90,000 that we spent out of surplus, so coming in under, with 10 grand over budget, it's not bad. I actually think it's pretty good.
We do too. Good job.
And the business office update. Still going swimmingly, still working on it, but might have a little setback right now. But we'll work hard and we'll get it done.
The setback being Sue?
Yes.
Okay. So, I meant to pull out the chart that you made where you're gonna be at certain times. Are we pretty much though on track?
Yep.
Of that chart that you made for us?
The problem is until you really close out the fiscal year, so what I've been doing is I've been working on stuff behind the scenes for Missy for payroll, so that she can do that stuff. So what we're gonna have to do is with the accounting manager, we're gonna have to, and I've talked to Ed and Susan about this, depending on what was going on, and I told them, you know, myself and him are gonna have to pull up our sleeves for July 1st and help them get their jobs done. Because you have the crunch on July 1st where all the supplies have to be ordered for all all 5 entities. So, because we don't have that requisition module in place because we can't purchase it until July 1st. So I told him, you know, it's part of our job to make sure that they get their job done, so we're just gonna have to pull up our sleeves and help whoever we need to help with.
Okay.
And then Missy's crunch time for payroll is gonna be in August, September. And there's a lot of stuff in the system that ADS can do that we don't do. So during that time when we're done with that certain process of it, we're gonna jump in and make sure that that's being accounted for. Like for Northwood, you know how you like to have that spreadsheet sent to the employees on the last day of the year? That stuff can actually be put onto the paychecks. The other school districts do it.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we're gonna make that happen, so all of that stuff is seen on the paychecks. So that way we don't have to do the double of doing the work twice. So yeah, so there's little stuff like that that we're working on behind the scenes.
Will that be done for this July? Or for next July?
For next June 30th, it will all be on there. But the problem is it's gonna be on a calendar basis, not a fiscal year basis. Because it goes by the calendar year and the W-2s and so forth.
Anything else? Anybody have any questions of Marjorie? Thank you very much. Do we
Thank
need
you.
Marjorie for anything?
Yeah, for the copy at least.
Oh, yeah. Okay, special education report.
There's no update to the audit committee. With the close of school, we didn't meet this month. We'll be scheduling a meeting for the 2nd to go to July. And I already covered preschool.
Any questions of Mr. Roning before we move on? Superintendent's report, personnel.
Personnel report, page 17, you'll see that you have 2 resignations. Jennifer Dickey and Susan Goki have both put in their letter of resignation.
Make a motion to accept their resignation?
Okay, Grant? All right. Second, so we have a motion, a second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, abstain, motion carries.
Fred Wolf for grants coordinator, a nomination. Mr. Wolf, we hired a few months ago for our grants coordinator position. He has done a wonderful job, and this is for next year's contract.
Move that we accept Fred Wolf as grants coordinator at $25 per hour, 14 hours a week.
Got a motion, got a second? Second? Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Motion carries unanimously.
Make a motion that we approve summer programming certified nominations and summer programming non-certified nominations.
Can you read them off, please?
Name Devin DeVoe, preschool teacher, salary $25 an hour. This is a certified nomination. Certified nomination. Jennifer Denoyes, speech pathologist, $38 per hour. Kelly Brown, speech pathologist, $38 per hour. A non-certified nominations, 2, Beth Boudreau, preschool paraprofessional, $16.50 per hour. Elizabeth Clark, preschool paraprofessional, $16.50 per hour.
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Unanimous.
And the next one is Catherine Duncan, the special ed coordinator position, which will be shared through Northwood and Nottingham. Pat, you got 2 more?
No, I'm actually short.
Well, I would think Stratford is probably going to abstain,
True.
right?
Well, have at it.
Very good, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
That sounds to me like votes for sale.
No, yeah.
All right, so this lady comes from Nottingham.
If anybody would like me to overview the process, I'd be
Please.
happy to do that. So the position was advertised. We had about 8 applicants. There was an initial interview committee that consisted of the 2 assistant principals from each building, the assistant director, and the secretary. And their instructions were to provide me 2 names to interview. I performed interviews with both candidates and took some time to think about your building needs and issues as I understand them. Chose from there, and then we interviewed with the superintendent last Thursday. I can tell you that Ms. Duncan is just about to finish her last graduate course and do her practicum. She'll have a special education administrative certificate and will be working on her CAG.
I never know when you're done.
That goes both ways.
You start saying over.
Over.
Move that we accept Catherine Duncan, special ed coordinator, Northwood, Nottingham, for our salary of $52,000
Second.
per year.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? So, all those in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand so I know who it is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, cool. And we have 5 abstentions?
Well, we only have 4 of us.
4 abstentions.
Oh, no, that's right, we only have 3.
3 abstentions. That's right.
You better take the match over.
Yeah.
No, I forgot.
Or take it Northwood.
Wow, that was on tape too.
Moving right along, a few other things on the superintendent's report. We put together, I'll give one of these to each board chair for teacher negotiations. In here, you'll see some information.
I'm on a motorcycle.
You'll see information on insurance, what we have for insurance. We've also got a number of area schools contracts in there, probably a dozen or more, so you can compare those as well.
You did do that.
What I didn't do is separate out all the information from the contract, but all of the contracts are in there.
Good.
As we find more information that would be relevant, we'll give it to you to add to your negotiations booklet, so.
Okay.
Do you have that,
We hope that you find
website?
Carol,
Somebody else.
Carol found that website.
Well, I got it
Had
from Pat.
every, well, I think
School district in the state.
every
Yeah.
school district in the state
I
that
forwarded
had.
it to,
All right.
well, I don't have it written down.
I gave it to
Did I give
somebody.
you?
I gave it to you.
PLR.
You gave it to me, but it's the same one I got from Pat, so
I
There-
took a picture of it.
there is a
I still
website.
have it on my phone, I might be able to.
I think it's the PELRB website.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
So you can literally go to every contract in the state, it's very neat, I've looked at a bunch. It's just incredible the different contracts from, I couldn't even start to say, you can just look at salaries, and believe me, our union just wants to look at salaries, but you can also look at, there's so much in there that is entirely different from one school to the other. I've seen schools that have no stipends at all. And there's some that have quite large ones and ones in the middle. Longevity, there are many schools that have no longevity. But their salary's a little higher. So, there's a lot to look at, and I encourage you all to look at that as you get into the negotiations.
One of the things, obviously talking about health insurance tonight, were you able to get any information? I mean, at Northwood, we had talked about, seeing if we could get the benefit broker candidate that we had met with to provide some information, just some educational information. It was a test to see what kind of things that they could provide to us, but the information that might be useful during negotiations. Was that something that, were you able to contact them?
We didn't get any additional information from them specific to that.
Because they didn't want to, couldn't, or was there?
We asked them what they could provide and we didn't get anything back.
Thanks for checking.
The next thing on the agenda is the RFP for legal services. In your packet, you should have the bid summary sheet and all the information. That was given to you, I believe, at the last joint board meeting for your review. And it's up for discussion.
Did you see what page bid summary she is in? What is in here?
Packet should be at the end, I believe.
Just a big summary there.
Page 30?
No, that's not, that's the copy.
So, looking at this, are we saying that the Canon is really the one that's giving us the best deal? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
we're talking about the legal services, not
Oh,
page 30
you're
yet.
talking about the copy.
I believe the whole RFP was given to you at the last meeting.
It was, yeah.
It was, there is no big summary sheet though.
There is no,
Yeah,
no.
And the packet we got the last time.
Yeah.
Right.
And our contract with them goes through when?
June 30th.
All right. I don't know how many of you looked at it. There was a considerable difference in hourly rate. Especially, it broke it down in hourly rate for a partner and then hourly rates for the people under that. So at the partner level, there was a considerable difference, the ones we're using now being quite cheaper than if we went to the other one. So it certainly appeared to me that the better deal, just simply financially, was with this one we're using now, the Soul Leslie Kidder. So $215 against $250, for those of you that don't have it with it. When you went to associates, ours now is a little higher, $195 against $170 to $185. Special education partners was $250 against, ours was $215 against $250. Associates $195 against $170. Partners on labor personnel $235. The other one is $250. Other partners, 215 against 235. Associates, 195 against 185. Paralegals, Sol Kidder, says and not applicable, and the other one says 90 to 115. Travel mileage,
They didn't even give us a number, how did, are they gonna do it for free?
says 0.
Associate instead of paralegal.
No, we're talking about the travel mileage,
Copies,
telephone.
telephone.
000.
Yeah.
So we really don't know the truth.
No, that is
That is
It's
free?
calculated
Everything's
the
free?
hourly rate.
Okay. I have a question. Who do we usually
No.
communicate with? The partners or associates? Like, who do we usually communicate with?
I would say it depends on the topic. The good thing about it is they've got expertise in a lot of different areas, so it's not uncommon for them to, depending on what the legal issue is, to put the appropriate person in the office.
When you say they, you're referring to our current.
So as we can, yeah.
I can tell you that I use a combination of one partner and one associate depending on availability. And I've been satisfied with both.
Typically, when research needs to be done, you may be communicating with a partner, but when research or time-intensive
Right.
work has to be asked of her, usually that goes to the associates or something.
Or paralegals, which they don't have.
I know at some point in the last month to 5 weeks, I had a short conversation with Scott Roening, and he indicated, and so he can indicate to you, but my understanding from him was that he's worked with both of these groups, and really is quite comfortable, as I remember it, working with both of these groups.
Almost. I know both groups. Both groups have good attorneys. I've worked with Firth, the cheaper group, for the last 8 years.
Okay.
So I have a level of comfort with them. Both firms offer, I think, comparable services.
I know on my board, we've had some issues with our current. Whether we'd have issues in the future, I don't know. But I know that it certainly has bothered me, some of the decisions from our lawyers that turned out to be just flat wrong. Now, maybe that's unfair, they're documentable, so I can document them, but.
Okay, we're talking about lawyers in public with a camera going.
Yeah.
We shouldn't
So,
talk about whether they're
probably
good or
so,
bad.
yes, you're right.
How
So-
much they cost,
We,
my opinion.
yeah, I'm sure you're right, although we're not talking about any particular lawyer. The